Session is now called to order. Please rise for the singing of the national anthem by Verlani Voices. Kindly remain standing for the doxology to be delivered by Verlani Voices. Thank you, Verlani Voices. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we defer. We move to defer the calling of the roll.
Is there any objection? There being none, the motion is approved. Secretary General, you're directed to call the roll of the members.
Defer.
To defer? Let me correct, to defer the calling of the roll. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we approve the journal number 29, dated November 14, 2018.
There is a motion to approve the journal. Is there any objection? There being none, the motion is approved. Majority Floor Leader,
1 minute suspension, Mr. Speaker.
1 minute suspension. Dapat yung referral na. I was expecting referral na.
Padala ako na kaya ko.
Dali pa.
Ha? Sabi ko Biyernes.
Lunis pa ngayon.
Uunahin ng presyan. Tapos sa tignan.
Dali, basta talan mo lang pa.
Referrals na.
Ito ma'am, tinatawagan.
Dali, sabi ko sa'yo.
Biyernes sa mo. Kaya may sabi ka pa niya. Ano ay yung Biyernes eh.
Pwede yung tenta.
Ini. Okay ka ta. Okay nita. Kaya ko nasagad sa liyan kung bakit niya ka lang. Unahin na daw natin yan, ma'am.
Pero pababa na rin si Manong dito ha.
Ano bang uunahin dito? Ito?
Ito po. Schedule na.
Nasaan ba yung litanyang binabasa niyo pag ang
Alam mo nga wala, ano yung, alam mo lima yung
Pinababasa pa ba yung ano? Pinababasa pa ba yung title?
ano si Manong Edson.
Sige. Ito muna.
Session resumes.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we take up under the calendar of unfinished business House Bill number 6425 under
There's a
Committee
motion to
Report
take up House Bill number
389. May we request the Secretary General to read the title of the bill, Mr. Speaker?
Secretary General, you may read the title of the bill.
House Bill 6425, an act prescribing an urgent, comprehensive, and integrated land-based traffic management policy to effectively address the traffic congestion crisis in Metro Manila, Metropolitan Cebu, and Metropolitan Davao, and appropriating funds therefore.
There's a motion. Any objection that we proceed? There being none, the motion is carried. Majority Floor Leader,
Mr. Speaker, the parliamentary status of this bill that it is still in the period of interpellation. And for this reason, we move that we recognize the Honorable Representative Cesar Sarmiento.
Honorable Representative Cesar Sarmiento, you are recognized.
Yes.
Please proceed.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. We are awaiting a colleague to be recognized to ask some questions in the interpellation.
Majority Floor Leader.
Sir Speaker, since we are in the period of interpellation, we move that we recognize the Honorable Arnolfo Arnie Tebes, 3rd District, Negros Oriental, to start with this interpellation.
Congressman Teves, you are recognized to start your interpellation. Is Congressman Teves around? Congressman Teves, you are recognized to interpellate the gentleman from Catanduanes.
1 minute suspension, Mr. Speaker.
1 minute suspension.
naman daw si Arnie Tevez.
Bayad ka naman po sa
Ayan ka na naman. Talaga.
Session resumes.
Mr. Speaker, we move to recognize the Honorable Edsel Lagman to start his interpellation.
The Honorable Edsel Lagman is hereby recognized for his interpellation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the distinguished sponsor yield?
Yes, with pleasure. My colleague in the Bicol region.
Traffic gridlock is a global problem. Does the distinguished sponsor confirm this verity?
Global gridlock, happening globally.
The traffic gridlock or traffic problem or traffic mess is a global problem.
Yes, I agree.
Yes. In a 2018 survey of Fortune.com, the top 10 highly traffic congested cities included the following in accordance to ranking. Top 10 most congested cities: Los Angeles, New York, Moscow, Sao Paulo, Brazil, San Francisco, Bogota, London, Atlanta, Paris, and Miami. The Philippines is not included in this top 10 most congested cities with respect to traffic. Are you aware of this?
I am not aware of the listing, Your Honor.
The top 10 most congested countries with respect to traffic include the following: Thailand, Indonesia, Colombia, Venezuela, the United States, Russia, Brazil, South Africa, Turkey, and the United Kingdom. Again, the Philippines is not included in the top most congested countries with respect to traffic. Is the distinguished sponsor aware of this ranking?
Again, with respect to the ranking as to the most congested cities, I am not aware of that, Your Honor.
Is the Philippines included in the top 10 countries with traffic problems measured by the traffic index? Mr. Sponsor.
May I request that the question be repeated again?
Is the Philippines included in the top 10 countries with traffic problems measured by the traffic index?
Again, Your Honor, I'm not aware.
When the distinguished sponsor was preparing, drafting this bill, did he not check comparative studies among countries in the world, considering that the traffic mess is a global problem?
Well, personally speaking, everybody felt what is happening in our country, and everybody experienced traffic congestion nowadays and even earlier days in the country. As regards comparing our traffic situation with the other cities, I have not come across of it, Your Honor.
Don't you think, distinguished sponsor, that it is necessary that comparisons be made between the Philippines and the other countries, considering that the distinguished sponsor admitted that the traffic mess is a global problem?
Well, the places you mentioned, I have been given the opportunity to visit those places, and I feel and I see for myself the problems of traffic, and similarly, what they are experiencing in their places are also felt in Metro Manila.
Well, aside from personal experience of the distinguished sponsor, don't you think it's necessary to consult or refer to authentic surveys?
Well, based on observation in one of our ocular inspection, particularly Singapore, though not experiencing traffic congestion, we have seen in those places that they have other modes of transportation. They have a subway, they have a railway, and buses, and yet they still experience traffic congestion in those places.
Well, for the information of the distinguished sponsor, with respect to the traffic index, Manila, Philippines ranks number 4. The first up to the 10th, according to ranking on the traffic index, is Dhaka, Bangladesh, Kolkata, India, Jakarta, Indonesia, Manila, Philippines, Delhi, India, Mumbai, India, Colombo, Sri Lanka, Nairobi, Kenya, Tehran, Iran, and Mexico City. But would the distinguished sponsor know what is meant by traffic index?
Mr. Speaker, 1 minute suspension.
Now, 1 minute suspension.
Yung temporary security mo, upo muna ako eh. Hirap ako tumayo eh.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker.
Session resumes.
Well, Your Honor, traffic index is a composite index of time consumed in traffic due to job commute, estimation of time, consumption dissatisfaction, carbon dioxide consumption, estimation in traffic, and overall inefficiencies in the traffic system.
That is perfectly correct, distinguished sponsor. But may we know whether, if any of the top 10 cities or countries which are congested due to the traffic gridlock has adopted an emergency power law to address the traffic mess?
I am not aware of it, but dito po sa ating panukalang batas, hindi naman natin itinuturing na we are not invoking emergency power as provided for under the Constitution, but instead, what we are doing is to resort to the plena power of Congress by amending some provisions of law for us to be able to address the problem of traffic or alleviating traffic congestion in certain areas.
Now, my question is whether any of these countries experiencing traffic gridlock has ventured in adopting a statute invoking emergency powers to solve the traffic problem.
Again, Your Honor, I am not aware if the cities mentioned experiencing traffic have resorted to emergency powers in order to address the problem of traffic.
As a matter of fact, not one of these countries has adopted an emergency power law to address the traffic problem. It's only the Philippines, which is not even in the top 10 congested cities or countries, which is venturing in adopting this kind of bill, which in the first place, when it was first filed, was really an Emergency Power Act?
Well, if the top 10 places experiencing heavy traffic have not resorted to the invocation of emergency power, similarly, in our place, if you're going to read the draft measure, we have not invoked the emergency power under the Constitution. As I said earlier, what we have done is the use of plenary power of Congress in addressing the problem of traffic congestion, like the idea of having a single traffic authority.
As originally conceptualized, did not the original bill grant emergency powers to the President? The first bill filed.
Original. Hindi yung mga bill final. Yung final. Hindi, yung mga previously. Meron ba? Yung iba, ha? Well, there were several measures filed to address the problem of traffic. Well, there was mention of emergency power, but looking deeply into the various measures, the emergency power has not been clearly defined. So what the committee did was to take into consideration the important items in the proposed measures, then come up with this substitute bill, which does not refer to the invocation of emergency power under the Constitution.
Well, if emergency powers had not been resorted to by these top 10 congested countries and cities because of the traffic mess, would the distinguished sponsor tell us what policies and remedies have been adopted by these other countries or cities to address their traffic gridlock?
Well, in our visit to Singapore, while Singapore is not one of those listed to be suffering from traffic congestion, but many years before, we have the same situation as in Singapore, but they were able to find ways and means by restructuring the transportation system such that they were able to effectively address the problem of traffic in their place. But as regards to the other cities mentioned, they have not, as you said, resorted to emergency powers.
Yes, we already agreed on that. But my question is, in lieu of emergency powers, what policies and remedies these other countries adopt to address the problem?
Well, in our visit with the country of Colombia, specifically Bogota, they have this big problem of traffic. In the year 2000, under the administration of Mayor Peñalosa, he thought of addressing the problem by introducing the so-called bus rapid transit system. Now, in doing so, to make it successful, the place resorted to like rationalization of routes. And it is embodied in this proposed measure. We have also this kind of framework by adopting this route rationalization in order to be able to find out exactly the number of public utility vehicles that could be deployed so that congestion would be avoided.
For example, did these countries adopt the upgrading of the transport system?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
Did they also adopt bike schemes?
Later on, they have resorted to adoption of bikeways. So a very clear example is in Bogota. They have established bikeways about 800 kilometers that will serve as an alternate mode of transportation in lieu of using vehicles.
Did these countries also pursue the altering of the flow of traffic at choke points?
Yes, Your Honor.
Also carpooling
Yes, Your Honor.
and
Ride sharing.
ride sharing
Ride sharing.
and congestion charge.
Well, I only knew of two places resorting to congestion charge. It's in London and Singapore.
Now, are some of these remedies and policies addressed in the bill at hand?
You mean to say that the application of this congestion charge, help in addressing the problem of traffic?
No. What I mean to say is, are there provisions in the bill which would adapt these alternative remedies to solve the traffic problem?
Except for congestion charge, we have not included the imposition of congestion charge in the proposed measure. Because para maging tagumpay po ang congestion charge, it presupposes that we have a very efficient mass transport, public transport, so that people will be able to choose whether to go to a place and pay the congestion charge or prefer to use an efficient mass transport.
What particular provision in the bill concerns the proposal to adopt bike schemes?
It can be found in section 13. 13C, embodied in the traffic management plan that provides promotion. 13C speaks of promotion of sustainable transport, including the setting up of bicycle lanes.
Okay. How about altering flow of traffic at choke points? Is this also addressed in the bill?
Well, 13F, creation of a traffic flow system, including identification and designation of one-way street and U-turn slots.
How about carpooling and share riding?
Number.
Is there any provision on this particular remedy?
A close look, we have omitted that particular way of addressing traffic congestion, and we could have it included. Wala di ba?
Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor, even if the Philippines is not included in the top 10 countries and cities with serious traffic congestion, our own traffic problem costs 3.5 billion daily in lost economic opportunities. Is this correct?
Yes, it is reported many times in the newspapers.
Due to the enormous loss of 3.5 billion daily in economic opportunities, you would recall that President Duterte, during the presidential campaign and after his election, promised to solve the traffic mess. Is this correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
But in a statement last September 13, 2018, President Duterte said that let's just leave EDSA as it is. If you don't trust me, then don't. The President said, Congress won't give me emergency powers for traffic, ayaw ko na rin. Duterte said, or added, that he would leave to the next administration to fix the traffic situation in Metro Manila. Do you recall those statements of the President?
Yes, I read that in the papers, but we are, insofar as we as members in Congress, we are still duty-bound. We are duty-bound to find ways and means to the problem that we are in, because there is really a need to address that problem. We are not giving up.
Yeah. We have to congratulate this chamber for pursuing this bill despite the fact that the President has given up on the Metro Manila traffic problem.
Your Honor, I would like to indicate that as regards carpooling and ride-sharing, it's indicated as 13Q, which provides a clear policy on ride-sharing or carpooling technologies and other traffic management programs.
Yes. The bill defines traffic crisis as, and I quote, the prevailing and exponentially worsening land traffic congestion and gridlock. Is this defined in this bill?
Yeah, it is provided for under Section 3G of the proposed bill.
Since the filing of this bill in 2016, to what extent has the traffic congestion and gridlock worsened?
We have to consider the fact that on a yearly basis, hundreds of thousands of new vehicles use our roads, so they largely contribute to the worsening traffic situation in the country.
This Traffic Crisis Act has a general duration of 3 years from its effectivity pursuant to Section 5 thereof. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why only 3 years? Is it the expectation that once this is passed, within 3 years, the traffic mess would be solved?
Well, of course, the traffic that we are in, that there would be no immediate solution. That is why if the passage of this traffic crisis would get favorable consideration from this House and even the Senate, And if the problem would still continue, the next Congress would have the opportunity to have it extended to address the problem of traffic.
Well, if it is admitted that the traffic problem cannot be solved within 3 years from the effectivity of this act, then why put a terminal of 3 years? Granting that the House and the Senate versions will be harmonized later, and an act will take effect in 2019, its effectivity will be up to 2022. Is this correct?
That is true, Your Honor.
And 2022 is the end of President Duterte's term.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is this designed by coincidence or purely coincidental?
By coincidence, it is not. It was not designed deliberately.
It
Because
appears-
because this was filed in the measures were filed in 2016.
Anyway, the point is 3 years effectivity will virtually end in 2022 at the end of the president's term. So let the next administration take care of the continuing traffic mess. Is that the message?
Well, if you are going to consider the initiatives being undertaken by this administration, this particular measure is to think of immediate solutions to alleviate the traffic problem. The other agencies like DOTR and DPWH are thinking of infrastructure, big infrastructure that will take a long time, like the introduction of subway, the construction of connector roads. But those infra will, the congestion period would take a long time. But in this particular measure, we have thought of thinking immediate solution like putting up a single traffic administration with the end in mind of harmonizing conflicting rules and regulations existing in Metro Manila covered by ordinances passed by the 17 councils of the LGUs. So again, the administration of thinking of so many projects primarily to address the problem of traffic in the country.
What is the gestation period of the so-called, quote, priority projects, unquote?
Well, as defined in the proposed bill, priority projects refer to the projects identified by the traffic chief and submitted to the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee as priority or critical undertaking for the purpose of immediately alleviating and managing the traffic crisis.
Yes, but my question is, what is the gestation period of the so-called priority projects?
Well, since the lifetime of the proposed measure would last within a period of 3 years, it should, the gestation period should be within the period of 3 years.
Yeah. If the gestation period is up to 3 years, by the time it is for completion, the bill, the act, will already terminate because of a 3-year duration. Whatever it is. The bill does not give examples of priority projects under Section 27. Can the distinguished sponsor give us a sampling of some priority projects?
Some projects that I could thought of that would be considered as priority project would be the implementation of motor vehicle inspection system. Of course, the acquisition or procurement of computers, the procurement of tow trucks and equipment for accident assistance, CCTV, and handheld equipments for ticketing.
Yeah, but the acquisition of this traffic equipment and computer does not need a law. Presently, the implementing agencies can pursue this acquisition.
Well,
So why do we have to have an act for purposes of acquiring computers, etc.?
well, if we are going to procure this on a regular procurement system through competitive bidding, so when these are badly needed, we have changed or expand the definition of emergency so that it will fall under Section 48 of Republic Act 9184.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Because the procurement law has exceptions, and the procuring agency can make such acquisition under the exceptions without need of a new act like this. Would these priority projects involve infrastructure projects?
Well, it may, in a situation, it may involve infrastructure. Like, for instance, if some commercial establishments, existing establishments do not provide for setback or sufficient parking, or even provide for a terminal or overpass pedestrian. So that would definitely involve some infrastructure.
Well, that is not specifically provided in the bill.
Well,
With
it is
respect to priority projects.
it is mentioned here as regards that particular clearing of sidewalks, determination of the need for elevated crosswalks and their suitable locations which must be integrated to the designated PUV terminals, bus stops, and the design for such crosswalks which should be sustainable, safe, convenient, and accessible to persons with disabilities.
Well, we will go to the terminals later, but let me just pursue this. The bill does not enumerate the standards prescribed by the Congress under which projects shall qualify as priority. Or is there a provision on this?
Well, Section 27 defines priority projects. And may I quote, pursuant to the enumerated policies of this Act, it is hereby declared and recognized that the traffic crisis is in the nature of a man-made calamity or catastrophe, that time is of the essence and immediate action is urgently necessary to prevent further damage to the national economy, public health and social welfare, or loss of life and property as a result of the traffic crisis, and that there is urgent necessity as well to restore, improve, and make accessible vital transportation services, infrastructure, and facilities.
Those are enabling conditions, but are they also considered standards?
Second? Section? section? Uh,
I
Well,
think we should be
well,
more specific.
Yeah, I go further regarding the priority project, that subject to the following requirements and conditions, that the priority projects must be aimed to immediately and effectively alleviate the traffic crisis, thereby promoting public interest, and the terms and conditions of the priority projects must be advantageous to the government.
Those are all motherhood statements. They are not specific standards. So I think at the proper time, we should be able to introduce some amendments to provide for standards, rather than just content with motherhood statements. Now, could the distinguished sponsor, Mr. Speaker, enumerate what are the causes of our horrendous traffic problem?
Well, number one would be oversupply of vehicles. We have lack of roads. We can attribute also to the lack of discipline among the commuters, bus drivers. We don't have an efficient mass transport system in Metro Manila. And conflicting rules and regulations existing among the various LGUs in Metro Manila.
Okay. Well, one is narrow roads and highways. Is that a major cause of the traffic problem? The narrow roads and highways we have in the Philippines, more particularly in the metropolis.
Well, that would be a contributory factor in the traffic problem that we are in. Narrow roads, plus the fact that we have an increasing number of vehicles, whether public and private, using our roads.
Do we need a law, distinguished sponsor, to address the problem of narrow roads and highways?
No need.
No need. Then also another problem is excessive volume of motor vehicles on the road at any given time. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do we need a law to address this particular cause of the traffic gridlock?
Well, strictly speaking. Before resorting to that, we have a way of limiting the number of public vehicles using our roads through route rationalization.
Yeah.
If we are able to do that, we are able to identify the appropriate number of public vehicles that would be using our roads. And as I mentioned earlier, it would be a big challenge on the part of this administration to come up with an efficient mass transport system, because if we are going to have that, people will not be using their private cars in going to their destination. Instead, they will be using the public transportation.
But my question is, do we need this act in order to address the excessive volume of motor vehicles on the road at any given time? I don't think we need any law on this.
Well, as regards the public vehicles, PUVs, as a result of the route rationalization, the effect would be reducing the number of vehicles using the streets insofar as the public utility vehicles are concerned.
The distinguished sponsor is suggesting that in order to implement road rationalization, there is a need for this law.
Yes, Your Honor. It is provided for under Section 15 of the proposed bill.
Yeah, it is provided for there, but is there a need for a law to address the excessive volume of motor vehicles on the road?
Yes, Your Honor.
Another problem is bus terminals and malls abutting the highway. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, my question is, do you need a law to remove or relocate these bus terminals and malls abutting the highway?
Yes, Your Honor. We feel that there is a need to pass this law, specifically covering the situation of terminals, because in the past, during the time of then Chairman Bayani Fernando, it was his intention to address the problem of traffic, and he recognized that the existence of terminals in Metro Manila contribute to traffic congestion, specifically along EDSA, and invoking the powers of MMDA, thinking that MMDA would have the power, but when it reached the court ruled that MMDA does not have that power. So if it will be specifically stated here, we will be able to take out terminals along EDSA without any problem.
Well, under this bill, is there any provision addressing the relocation of bus terminals abutting the highway?
As provided for under Section 13A, H, designation of PUV terminals, including the relocation of existing or removal of illegal terminals.
Yeah. But illegal terminals can be relocated even without a law. Is it not?
Yes.
It is. It is not mandatory that a law be passed in order to abate these illegal terminals. Is it not, distinguished sponsor?
Yes, Your Honor. However, in reality, when concerned agencies would abate, these are considered as nuisance, would abate the nuisance, they find it very difficult considering the fact that they are located in the local government units.
Yeah. It is difficult because there is no political will to relocate or remove these bus terminals. For example, I have counted a number of bus terminals going to Makati along EDSA. There is the Jump Liner, the DLTB Co, Alps,
So ano?
AB Liner, LLI, Dagupan Bus Liner, Dominion Bus Liner, Genesis, Biron Bus Company, Superlines, Dait Express, Victory Liner, Solid North Transit, Inc., Bicol Isarog, RSL, Force North Luzon, among others. Is distinguished sponsor aware of these bus terminals abutting the highway
Along
going to
EDSA.
Makati?
Along EDSA.
Along EDSA?
Yes, you are correct,
Yeah.
Your Honor.
And also along EDSA from Quezon City to Balintawak. You have again super lines, 5-star,
Ang sabi na 85 eh.
Baliwag,
Terminal.
Suntrans, ES Transport Inc., again Genesis Transport Inc., Florida, Jackliner Inc., again Victory Liner. Is the distinguished sponsor aware of the existence of this bus terminal?
Yes, Your
abutting
Honor.
the
Yes,
highway?
Your Honor. And as a matter of fact, I think it was reported by MMDA there are about 85 terminals along EDSA.
Should these bus terminals be considered nuisance?
With if they are operating with valid permits issued by the local government units, hence they are legally engaging in business operations.
Does it mean that just because they have permit
Pero yung
from the
gusto
local
ko-
government units, they cease to be nuisance?
But of course, in reality, everyone felt passing through those areas when entering and outgoing would cause inconvenience and cause traffic in the process. So again, in order to promote the public welfare, we have to look into this by having them relocated so that the problem of traffic would be addressed.
Well, nuisance is defined, among others, as any establishment which, quote, obstructs or interferes with the free passage
flow.
of any public highway or street. Would the distinguished gentleman agree to this definition of a nuisance?
Yes, Your Honor.
A nuisance can be classified according to the object or objects that it affects, like a public nuisance, which affects a community or neighborhood or any considerable number of persons, although the extent of the annoyance, danger, or damage upon individuals may be unequal. Are these bus terminals considered as public nuisance?
Well, basing it on the definition of nuisance, this representation would agree that this the operations of bus terminals definitely would cause obstruction and pose problem with respect to the free flow of traffic along that area.
A nuisance can also be classified as to one, whether it is susceptible to a legal summary abatement, in which case it may either be nuisance per se, where it affects the immediate safety of persons and property, under which may be summarily abated under the undefined law of necessity, or a nuisance per accident, which depends upon certain conditions and circumstances, and its existence being a question of fact cannot be abated without due hearing by the proper tribunal. But since these bus terminals are nuisance per se, affecting the safety of passengers and obstructing traffic, then it is subject to a legal summary abatement. Is that correct?
Well, based on the definition of nuisance per se, it can be abated summarily, even without hearing.
Well, if it is nuisance per se, which can legally be summarily abated, then there is no law which is needed. This act will not in any way, the absence of this act will not in any way prevent the summary legal abatement of these bus terminals. So it's a matter of political will. It's not a matter of statute. Because these bus terminals have been there for quite a time. And they are certainly classified as nuisance per se, which can be abated summarily. And most probably this will go even to the extent of supermarkets and malls abating the highway. I think this should be a particular concern because they add to the traffic congestion.
Fernando?
And if the distinguished gentleman feels that these malls and supermarkets cannot be abated without a law, then this bill should make a provision directly authorizing government to make such abatement. Then another cause for the traffic problem is the inadequate mass transport system and infrastructure. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. And I don't think there is a need for a law for government to implement an adequate mass transport system and infrastructure. As a matter of fact, the construction of this subway from Quezon City to Taguig, extending to the airport, is now being undertaken under a JICA loan, and there is no need for a law authorizing the construction of subways. Is that correct?
Those are the projects by the administration specifically to address the problem of traffic. But if you're going to take a look also on the reality why we have this kind of traffic is the conflicting, we may not refer to infrastructure per se, but conflicting rules and regulations being issued by the local government units in Metro Manila.
Now, let me just go very directly. Is there an enabling statute or law authorizing the construction and operation of a subway system?
No.
There is none.
There is none.
There's none. In the same manner, most probably, there is no need for a law for the implementation of the so-called priority projects. And the last among the major causes of our horrendous traffic problem is lack of discipline among Filipino drivers and pedestrians. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And how does this bill address this particular problem?
Well, we have seen that one of the factors that cause traffic Like for instance, the indiscriminate embarking and disembarking of passengers.
I wonder if the distinguished sponsor could speak louder.
Like for instance, when it comes to discipline, lack of discipline, not only among the commuters but for bus drivers, we have observed that one of the causes that generate traffic is the indiscriminate embarking and disembarking of passengers in non-designated loading and unloading area. Lack of basic first in, first out, basic courtesy at loading and unloading bays, and the prolonged dwelling of buses in multiple lanes, causing traffic build-up and reckless driving.
Well, I don't think there is need for a law to regulate embarking and disembarking from motor vehicles like buses and jeepneys, or taxis for that matter. There is no need for a law on that. Most probably, there is a need for a law to increase the insurance premium of delinquent drivers. Just like in some countries, like the United States, where the more traffic violations you have, the higher is your insurance premium. But with respect to this embarking and disembarking, I don't think there is need for a law. Administrative fiat will be sufficient. Let me go to another possible remedy. And it is the opening up of subdivision private roads to traffic. Is this part of the remedies being envisioned under this act?
Well, it's provided for under Section 14 with the subtitle of Friendship Routes.
And how will this opening up of subdivision roads be undertaken?
Well, this can be done by the traffic chief in coordination with the local government units in identifying private villages and subdivision that will serve as alternate routes by making their roads accessible to public.
Now, I'll just show to the distinguished sponsor the practicality of this particular provision. Taking as an example the long stretch of EDSA. What private subdivisions are targeted for the entry and exit of traffic? What particular subdivisions are being targeted? Along EDSA.
Along EDSA, Forbes, Magallanes, Wakwak, Valle Verde, Corinthian Gardens.
Now, let's stop there. How about Forbes? You open up the private roads in Forbes. Where is the entry point? Where is the exit? Will the entry point be in EDSA and the exit also in EDSA?
C5.
How do you do it?
Yeah. Not necessarily along EDSA, but probably exiting towards C5 or Taguig.
Well, C5
Because-
is also congested.
So,
How about Corinthian Garden? How do you propose to open up Corinthian Garden? What is the entry point? What is the exit point?
ano no?
You know, we have to be practical when we make proposals like this. How about North Green Hills, Bel Air, and San Lorenzo subdivision? where do you enter and where do you exit? These are all along EDSA. You enter from EDSA, you exit to EDSA. That's the same traffic problem you're going to encounter. And how about Dasmariñas and Corinthian Gardens? The same problem. It's easy to propose, but how do you implement this? I'll just tell you. In the Summer Avenue homes, from the corner of Mother Ignacia and EDSA to the corner of Timog Avenue and EDSA, the roads there had been widened at Summer Avenue. But the problem is the buses and cars will enter Summer Avenue from EDSA. Where will it exit? It will still exit at EDSA. So we don't solve a problem by making this bypass of at least a kilometer only. So I think this should be restudied to make it practical. Or, like for example, Film Life Homes along EDSA. Oh, where do you exit? Where do you enter? Where do you exit?
Well, probably going west, West Avenue,
You
then
go
going to España, Quezon Avenue.
If you are going to Cubao or Makati, you cannot exit going to West Avenue.
No, resorting to these so-called friendship routes would not necessarily mean that once these private roads are open, they could now be accessed to by buses, but they could be accessed by private cars, so that that would lessen the volume of vehicles using EDSA, so that the movement of traffic along EDSA would be a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Without these friendship routes, the tendency is everybody will have to pass through along EDSA.
Kindly wind up your period of interpellation, because each member under the rules is given 1 hour to interpellate. Please, kindly wind
At the
up.
proper time, Mr. Speaker, we must amend that rule, because under that rule, the 1 hour period includes the answer of the sponsor, not
Yes.
only the question of the one making the interpellation.
Duly noted, duly noted. So, majority floor
well,
leader.
I have more questions because my time is up. Then most probably I will pursue a second round for my questions.
Yes. Majority floor leader.
Mr. Speaker, before we call on the next interpellator, I move that we acknowledge or recognize the guests of the Honorable Jeffrey Conghun, who are all barangay captains from the municipality of Castillejos, Zambales. They are Saldi Espiritu, Dennis Mapalo, Nonito Pascual, Romeo Kalimlim, Marcos Alfonso, Susan Soria, Ramon Valdez, Quirino Adolfo, Yamda Doral, Danilo Lopez, Gary Padrique, and Rafael Togadi.
Will the
Likewise,
guest of
Mr. Speaker, I also move that we recognize the 11 guests, barangay officials of Barangay Lapu-Lapu in the 2nd District of Davao City. They're guests of the Honorable Mylene J. Garcia Albano.
will the guest of Congresswoman Mylene Albano stand up to be recognized? And the guest of Congressman Cogon, please stand up to be recognized. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we also would like to recognize the doctoral students of public administration from the Batangas State University, headed by Dr. Razel Melendez Inco, guests of the Deputy Speaker, Raneo Abu.
Will the guest of Deputy Speaker stand up to be recognized? Majority Floor Leader.
We also move to recognize the guest of Representative Florida Rida Robes. They are Mayor Arturo B. Robes, San Jose del Monte City, Bulacan.
That's the end.
Principals from DepEd San Jose del Monte, Bulacan. Representatives from different barangays of San Jose del Monte, Bulacan. Homeowners Association, San Jose del Monte. Representatives from San Jose del Monte Water District, and from the Prime Water Corporation.
Well, the guest of Congresswoman Robes is recognized. Majority Floor Leader.
Finally, Mr. Speaker, we move to recognize the guests of the Honorable Salvador Belaro Jr., Mr. Bernal Masinas, former Commissioner of Komisyon ng Wikang Pilipino, Dr. Abelino de Chavez, Dean Graduate School of the San Sebastian College, Dr. Edith Bunuan, Educator and National President of the Council of Managed Educators and Practitioners, Professor Ray Hetahobe of the University of Caloocan City, other guests, including Dr. Marina Cadabuna.
Will the guest of Congressman Vilaro please stand up to be recognized? Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we call the roll of members.
There is a motion to call the roll. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. The secretary is directed to call the roll of members.
Roll call of members. Honorable Representatives Abaya, Abayon, Abellanosa, Abu, Abueg, Acharon, Acop, Acosta, Acosta Alba, Adyong, Advincula, Agaraw, Agabaw, Albano, Alcala, Alejano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Franz, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Andaya, Angara Castillo, Antonino, Antonio, Aquino Magsaysay, Aragones, Arbizon, Arcillas, Arenas, Atienza, Aumentado, Bagaw, Bagatsing, Bagilat, Banal, Barbers, Barzaga, Batawil, Batocabe, Bautista Bandigan, Belaro, Belmonte Feliciano, Belmonte Jose Christopher, Belmonte Ricardo, Benitez, Bernos, Bertiz, Biason, Billones, Biron, Bolilla, Bondok, Bordado, Bravo Anthony, Bravo Maria Vida, Brosas, Bulot Begtang, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto Rubiano, Caminero, Campos, Kanama, Kari, Casilaw, Castelo, Castro France, Castro Fredenil, Catamco, Cayetano, Celeste, Serafica, Cerilles, Chavez, Chipeco, Cojuanco, Collantes, Cortés, Cortuna, Cosalán, Crisólogo, Cuba, Cuaresma, Cueva, Dalipe, Datol, Daza, de Jesús, de Venecia, de Vera, Defensor, del Mar, del Rosario, del Oso Montalia, de Maporo Abdullah, de Maporo Khalid, Duavit, Durano, Di, Elago, Enverga, Erice, Eriguel, Ermita Buhain, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Eusebio, Evardone, Fariñas, Fernando, Ferrer Juliet, Ferrer Luis, Feriol Pascual, Floirendo, Flores, Fortún, Fortuno, Fuentebella, Garbín, García Gwendolyn, García José Enrique, García Albano, Garin Richard, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Gachalian, Heron, Go Ana, Go Mark, Gomez, Gonzaga, González Alexandria, González Aurelio, González Fernando, Gorizeta, Gulyas, Hernández Ferdinand, Hernández Paul, Herrera D, Hopper, Alojos, Javier, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lagman, Lanete, Laugan, Lasatin, Liachon, Li, Limcaychong, Lobregat, Lopez Benhar, Lopez Carlo, Lopez Manuel, Loyola, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Manalo, Mangawang, Mangudadato Suharto, Mangudadato Zajid, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariño, Marquez, Martinez, Matugas, Meliana, Mending, Mendoza, Mercado, Mirasol, Montoro, Nava, Nieto, Noel, Nograles, Nolasco, Núñez Malañaon, Oaminal, Ocampo, Olivares, Ong Edwin, Ong Henry, Ortega Pablo, Ortega Vini, Pacquiao, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panganiban, Panotes, Papandayan, Pichay, Pico, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Primicias Agabas, Kimbo, Radasa, Ramirez Sato, Ramos, Relampagos, Revilla, Robapuno, Robes, Rocamora, Rodriguez Isidro, Rodriguez Maximo, Roman, Romero, Romaldes, Romaldo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbarya, Sahali, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Salon, Sambar, Sandoval, Sangkopan, Santos Recto, Sarmiento Cesar, Sarmiento Edgar, Sabeliano, Sema, Xiao, Silverio, Singson, Swansing Estrellita, Swansing Horacio, Suarez, C. Alvarado, Tambunting, Tan Angelina, Tan Milagrosa, Tan Sherney, Tejada, Teves, Tiangco, Ting, Tino, Tolentino, Treñas, Tugna, Tupas, T, Umali, Unabia, Ungab, Unico, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Uy Pareta, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velarde, Velasco Lord, Velasco Catera, Veloso, Vergara, Villafuerte, Villanueva, Villarasa Suarez, Villarica, Villarin, Violago, Yap Arthur, Yap Melesio, Yap Victor, Yu, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Ronaldo, Zarate, Subiri. Mr. Speaker, the roll call shows that 202 members responded to the call.
With 202 members responding to the call, the chair declares the presence of the quorum. Majority Floor Leader.
Call him in. Call him in.
Motion to suspend, Mr. Speaker.
Session suspended.
dapat tapusin ba siya?
Anong problema nila? Allowed ba yung second round? Under the rules? Do we allow second round? Nasa rules? Session resumes. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize the Honorable Lito Atienza for his interpellation.
Since this is your second round, Honorable Atienza, we'll give you 30 minutes for your second round interpellation. You're recognized. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I'd like to put on record, the first time I interpellated, there was a long line of gentlemen who wanted to interpellate, and I merely gave way. But now there is only one, and that's me, wanting to interpellate. So we request the Speaker not to limit our time, as I will try my best to ask all the relevant questions.
Well, I was
that have
just
to be
trying to
answered.
remind you, but you know, with the wisdom of the Honorable Lito Atienza, I'm sure that in 30 minutes you will be able to ask relevant and intelligent questions. Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With the permission of the gentleman, we would like to clarify certain matters. When we first tackled this measure, the President was urging and egging Congress to pass an emergency law for emergency powers. Is it still the purpose of this bill to provide emergency powers to the President and the Department of Transportation to solve the problem of traffic in these three metropolitan areas? O ito po naman ay panukalang batas na dapat nating talakayin ayon sa ating magandang mga hangarin? Or it why emergency powers granting the President and the DOTs are that we are talking about? Then narinig ko po si Pangulong Duterte. Sinabi niya, iasa na lang niyo sa susunod na gobyerno at susunod na Pangulo yung problema ng traffic. Ayoko nang hawakan yan. Yung po ba'y minamahalagahan natin o isinasantabi natin?
Well, sa aking palagay, nabigkas ng ating mahal na Pangulo yung ganung mga statement. Pero sa ganang akin, ramdam po natin ang problema tungkol sa trapiko. And bilang mambabatas at napag-atasan ng ating mga kababayan na maghanap ng kalutasan sa problema, ipagpapatuloy pa natin maghanap ng solusyon sa problema natin sa trapiko dito sa Metro Manila.
So, Mr. Speaker, are we to understand that this measure, although not mentioned in the title, still aims to grant emergency powers to the President and to the Department of Transportation?
Well, kung ating babasahin po ng pangkabuuan, hindi natin maituturing na nagbibigay tayo ng emergency powers under the concept of emergency powers sa ating konstitusyon, kundi yung ginagamit natin yung tinatawag na plenary power ng Kongreso para ayusin ang mga existing na batas ngayon para like for instance po, there is a need to harmonize yung mga iba't ibang rules, traffic rules and regulation na ipinasa ng mga iba't ibang council through ordinances.
Mr. Speaker, the gentleman is not responsive to my question. Ito po bang proposal na ito ay naglalayon magbigay ng emergency powers sa Pangulo? Emergency powers, as we understand, will cut short existing laws and prevent the transparency and the people's rights to full information kung gugustuhin. Kaya iba po yung emergency powers, iba po yung ordinary House bill. Are we treating this as an ordinary House bill or an emergency power granting law?
Well, we could treat it as an ordinary House bill aiming to address the problem of traffic, not necessarily granting emergency powers to the President.
So it is a regular House bill that we are debating on, and not really a bill granting emergency powers as the initial measure that we debated on here. Binago na po ang purpose. Ganun po ba yun?
Well, totoo po yun. Pero dahil po sa problema na kinakaharap ng ating bansa ngayon, ay kailangan po ng dagliang solusyon para maibsan ang problema natin sa traffic.
Tinatanggap ko na po yun, Mr. Speaker. Now, listening to the initial questions propounded by Congressman Lagman, I would like to continue what he has started. Kayo ba'y nagsaliksik ng malalim bago ninyo binuo itong batas na ito? Ano ang mga tunay na kadahilanan ng problema natin sa traffic sa Metro Manila, Cebu, and Davao?
Well,
Kayo ba'y nagsaliksik at nag-aral at sumuri sa mga iba't ibang kadahilanan?
Tama po yun, Your Honor.
Kagalang-galang na sponsor, wala po akong nakita rito sa inyong panukala at ako'y nakinig naman sa mga presentation ninyo. Sa tingin po ba ninyo, ano ang tatlong pinakamalalang problema na gumagawa ng pangkalahatang problema ng traffic sa Metro Manila, lalo-lalo na? Yung po ba'y kakulangan sa kapangyarihan? Yung po ba'y kakulangan sa material? Yung po ba'y kakulangan sa pera? Ano po ba tatlong may tuturing niyo?
Well, nandyan po yung wala ho tayong maayos na mass public transportation. Nandyan po yung iba't ibang traffic rules and regulation na ipinasa ng 17 LGUs po sa Metro Manila. And kasama rin po ang pagdami po ng sasakyan bagkos kulang ang ating mga kalsada.
Yun po ang kinatatakot ng inyong lingkod, Mr. Speaker. Ang kanilang direksyon at punto dito sa panukalang ito ay isisina naman sa mga iba't ibang ordinansa ng traffic sa Metro Manila. Ako po'y naging pinunong bayan ng pinakamalaking lungsod sa Metro Manila. Pusod ng problema ng traffic sa Metro Manila. I cannot agree with the gentleman, Mr. Speaker, because we have all the laws already in place Lahat po ng gagawin nyo sa kalye, sa lansangan, meron po tayong batas, I can assure you. Now, if you talk about EDSA, what causes the problem there? If you talk about the inner roads of Metro Manila, what are the real problems there? Let me share with you. The real problems are one, incompetence, mismanagement, and number three is corruption. Rampant corruption in the streets of the country. In Metro Manila, huwag na kayong lumayo. Corruption is being committed, complicating our lives in the streets. Yung mga tanong ni Congressman Lagman ay tama at hindi po nyo nasagot ng ayon sa katotohanan. Ang problema po sa EDSA ay malinaw. Idinidepensa pa ninyo ang baluktot na pamamaraan. Dapat bang payagan ang mga terminal ng bus sa EDSA? Lahat po ng batas nandiyan na, hindi pwede po yan. Pero bakit nag-ooperate? Ilang beses na nag-announce ang MMDA, aalisin na nila yan. Bakit nandiyan pa? So therefore, corruption, as I know the corruption level in the illegal use of our limited roads. The problem is not one of undersized roads. The problem is when the enforcer is collecting on a weekly basis from these terminals. Congressman Lagman narrated all of them, and I agree with him. And I would like to request the sponsor, before he even pursues further this measure, dumaan kayo sa Buendia, Taft Avenue. Niluwagan po ng gobyerno yan para mag-accommodate ng mas maraming sasakyan. Ano ang ginawa ng mga bus? Ginawa nilang central terminal. Andun po sa Buendia, Taft Avenue. Andun lahat yung mga bus na sinabi po ni Congressman Lagman. At bakit pinapayagan po yan ng gobyerno? Wala po bang nakikita ang ating mga local government units? Wala po bang nakikita ang MMDA? Wala po ba silang kapangyarihan na ito'y itigil at patakbuhin ng maayos at paggamit ang mga lansangan ng ayon sa tamang pamumuhay? The gentleman mentioned Singapore. Do you agree that Singapore has solved the traffic problem? Because you cited Singapore.
Yes.
And do you agree that they solved the traffic problem when they jailed all their enforcers who were committing corruption in the streets of Singapore once upon a time? Ang solution po ay therefore enforcement of our rules and regulations and the laws, and to stop corruption once and for all. Anyway, we have a president who swears to high heavens, just a whiff of corruption is willing to act immediately. Eh bakit hindi po ma-actionan yung corruption sa lansangan?
Tamang-tama po yung obserbasyon nyo na may mga terminals na nag-ooperate sa Pasay, dyan sa along EDSA. Pero ho, ang tama po kayo, ang nagbibigay ng permiso para makapag-operate ng terminal by way of business permit ang local government units. At sinabi niyo po na ano ang ginagawa ng MMDA. Kung matatandaan ko po, as I said, at one time, nung panahon po ni Chairman Bayani Fernando, nag-attempt po siya na magpasara ng terminal dahil may balak siyang gumawa ng maluwag-luwag na terminal, ay kinasuhan po si Bayani Fernando at kinatigan ng Korte Suprema ang complainant against then Chairman Bayani Fernando.
Mr. Speaker, ang binabanggit ng ating gagalang-galang na sponsor ay isang kaso tungkol sa nature of operating a terminal. But the Supreme Court never said buses can park in the main highways of Metro Manila. Right now, I'm challenging the sponsor. Pumunta kayo sa Buendia, puro bus ang nakaparada ron sa niluwagan na kalsada. Pumunta po kayo sa EDSA. Ang mga problema dyan ay choke points dito po sa Cubao, dito po sa Shaw Boulevard, doon po sa Guadalupe. Pag yan nalagpasan nyo, magaang na ang biyahe nyo. Tatanungin niyo ang sarili niyo, bakit pinababayaan ang mga bus dito? Wala naman laman. Mga nakaparada sa side. Kuminsan doble-doble. Pag merong sumisingit na isa pa, 3 na sila. Pag merong umu-overtake pa, 4 na bus na nakaparada sa highway. This is a freeway. Supposedly free-flowing. Pero hindi po pinatutupad ng mga may kapangyarihan ang batas. At hindi nila tinutupad ang kanilang tungkulin. Bakit hindi sila suspindihin lahat ng ating Pangulo? Meron po bang may sasagot ang ating kagalang-galang na sponsor dyan para makumbinsi po niyo ako? Ang solusyon ay isang urgent, comprehensive, and integrated traffic plan. Para baga, mga kataga na nagbibigay ng bagong pag-asa. Pero sa totoo, pag hindi po pinatupad ang batas, gagamitin lamang itong dokumentong ito pandagdag ng lagay sa mga kinauukulan. So before we even tackle it further, I am requesting the sponsor. Pumasyal kayo dun sa mga tinuturan namin ni Congressman Lagman. Tingnan nyo yung mga terminal sa EDSA. Ang mga bus nakaparada nun sa kanilang tapat. I heard the MMDA saying, we will ban all of this. I did not see the results of that statement. But I heard them say, sa January na namin patutupad. Oh, binigyan pa ng paraan. Bakit? Palalagpasin ng Pasko? Alam po ninyo, ako'y mangungumpisal sa inyo. Noong ako'y mayor, inaalok ako ng 100,000 piso araw-araw. Payagan ko lang ang bus pumarada sa Taft Avenue hanggang doon sa Liwasan Bonifacio. Hindi ko po pinayagan yan. We arrested anybody parking in the streets, highways of Manila illegally. Dahil illegal po yan eh. You don't need this law to enforce the ordinances existing now. You don't need an extra law. Magkakaroon lamang ng dagdag na kapangyarihan. Sasabihin, dagdagan nyo yung lagay nyo. Ha? Stricto itong batas na ito. Dito'y mas mahaba ang sentensya nyo. Tingnan po ninyo muna, bago ninyo itulak itong panukalang ito, I will join you to the areas that I have pointed out and see for yourself what the problems are and what could be the solution. Hindi po ba ang solusyon dyan, hulihin lahat yan? Do you agree or not agree?
Well, bago ko sagutin yan, gusto ko lang hong magbigay ng obserbasyon na ito po ay binalangkas ang panukalang batas na ito para hindi ho lumaki ang or abet corruption. So may mga provision naman ho dito na nagpapataw ng penalty sa mga magkakasala. Hindi yung sasabihin na ito pong panukalang batas ay lalong maglalala ang korupsyon. Ito pong panukalang batas na ito ay inisip after several hearings na mag-isip kung paano makakatulong sa paglutas ng ating problema sa trapiko.
I believe in the sincere intentions of the sponsor. I believe in his diligent work. But what we are pointing out this afternoon in Congress is that his solutions are not commensurate, are not the answers to the present situation. Ang isang enforcer na sumusweldo lamang ng 7,000, kapag ka nakahawak ng kapangyarihan, ay didilihensya yan. Kaya nagkakaroon tayo ng problema. Pag binigyan mo ng masigit na kapangyarihan pa yan, lalaki ang lagay, hindi magbabago ang sitwasyon ng traffic natin. Yun ang aming pinupunto at sana'y makita po ng ating kagalang-galang na kongresista from Samar that the conditions in Metro Manila are very, very simple and clear. The government is not enforcing the law. Pag gumamit ka naman ng side street, and you try it, try to traverse the side streets of Mandaluyong, Maynila, Pasay, see if you can even use it. Marami sa kanila, you cannot even pass through because of the illegal use of our limited road. You don't need this law to to implement and enforce the law to clear all the avenues that are necessary for the free flow of traffic. Ang aking ikinatatakot, Mr. Speaker, tinitignan natin yung kapangyarihan, hindi naman natin tinitignan yung tunay na kalagayan. Our narrow roads in Metro Manila are hampered, blocked in many ways by long delayed public works projects. Papalitan lang ng tubo ng drainage. It will take them 1.5 years. Marami pong ganyan sa Sampaloc, sa Nandes Bukid, sa Santa Ana, sa Pandacan, na hindi madaanan ng maayos yung makitid na kalye sapagkat barado na mga long delayed public projects. So have you checked on this? Anong impact nito sa total problem? Ang sinasabi ko po ay napakarami ng solusyon na hindi pa tayo gagamit ng emergency powers for anyone. Na ang maaagabyado dyan ay ang karapatan ng mga sumusunod sa batas. Ang mapagbibigyan nyo kapangyarihan sa mga sumusuway sa batas. For a change, let's consider the law-abiding driver, motorist, and pinpoint the responsibility. Unless you enforce the law, Mr. Mayor, you will be suspended. Gusto ko pong marinig yun, yung mga katagang ganon. Hindi po ba ang lahat ng local government units, including the barangays, are under the administrative control of the President?
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor.
Hindi po ba totoo na ang Department of Interior ay binuo upang sila ang mangalaga ng pagpapatupad ng tungkulin ng mga lahat ng mga local government units?
Tama po yun.
Kung hindi tumutupad, ano ang dapat gawin?
Dapat kasuhan.
Dapat kasuhan? Hindi, dapat suspindihin na. Hindi ayaw magtrabaho eh. I would like to see 1 or 2 mayors suspended. I tell you, the traffic situation will immediately improve without giving anybody extra powers. But for as long as they can get away with it and enjoy the collection weekly, every Friday somebody delivers a bag full of money and they are happily running again to the banks of their cities. Mr. Speaker, it's about time we address the problem of corruption in all levels of government. And we're talking about the traffic conditions. This problem is aggravated by corruption. Unless we do so, this code, this law, this piece of paper that we are now tackling will only give more powers to the corruptors and the corrupt enforcers of the law, and the motorists, the law-abiding citizen, will be made to suffer even more.
Noong napag-usapan po natin ito, itong Traffic Crisis Act, at tumayo kayo sa unang pagkakataon at sinabi ang dahilan kung bakit meron tayong problema sa trapiko, nabanggit nyo po yan sa mga barangay captain, mga LGUs na hindi ipinapatupad ang kaayusan sa kanilang lugar. Medyo lumampas ng ilang buwan, nabanggit nyo, natunghayan, natumbok ninyo ang problema, pero ganun pa rin, wala pong pagbabago sa mga LGUs na kung saan yung dadaanan yung mga kalsada na imbis pwedeng dumaan ang mga sasakyan ay hindi pwede dahil may mga lamayan, basketball court, at kung ano-ano pa.
Paano po magkakaroon ng pagbabago? Kagalang-galang na sponsor.
Kaya
Kung hindi naman nagre-react ang gobyerno. The MMDA faced us here, and I addressed myself clearly to the chairman of the MMDA, General Danilo Lim. And I challenged him, alisin mo yung nakabarang mga bus sa Buendia. Maniniwala ako sa'yo. That was about, 8 months ago? Not a single bus has been removed there. In fact, they multiplied. Malamang ganun nga nangyari. Nagdadaldal si Atienza sa Kongreso. Mainit ang usapin. Dagdagan nyo, para medyo, pag napo na kami ng Pangulo, meron na kaming retirement fund. Ganun ang nangyayari. Because no change has been noticed along EDSA, and the situation has worsened. No change has been noticed in the inner roads of Metro Manila because, again, the law is not being enforced. Mahirap po bang intindihin yun? Yung batas ay batas. Sumunod tayong lahat dyan. Gagawa na naman tayo ng panibagong batas. Mr. Speaker, is that the object of this discussion? Pass a new law, giving them more powers? Palagay ko po ay disjointed. Malayo sa katotohanan. Kaya baka pwedeng i-consider ng sponsor. I-postpone niya muna ito. Total, hindi na emergency powers to. This is now a regular House bill that we are tackling. I am pleading with him. Go around the avenues and boulevards in Metro Manila. You don't even have to see what's going on in Samar before you even consider passing a law that will affect all of us in Metro Manila. Tingnan po ninyo, kung ang solusyon na lamang po, ang tanging solusyon ay ito, we will join you in your efforts. But you will realize, I'm sure, because you are a reasonable man, you are a patriotic citizen, and you will realize, tama si Congressman Atienza, itong mga illegal na ito, ang dapat nating hulihin lahat. Pwede po ba i-postpone lang ninyo? Pumasyal tayo sa lahat.
Well,
Araw-araw, sasamahan ko kayo.
Bago ka tumayo ho dyan, ating ginawa ang paglilibot, sumakay sa mga pampublikong sasakyan, para mismo makita ng aming dalawang mata kung ano ang tunay na kalagayan. At nakita po namin yan, yung sitwasyon sa Metro Manila.
There is a suggestion by Honorable Atienza to postpone this bill. What is the pleasure of the sponsor? Because, like for example, there are certain functions here that are actually functions when there is an emergency situation. But have Congress declared an emergency as far as traffic is concerned? Because first, you have to declare that there is an emergency, a national emergency, as far as traffic is concerned. In the absence of a declaration of a state of emergency, then functions like the chief of traffic can actually suspend franchises. The chief of traffic can even take over franchises. But in the absence of a national emergency, these functions cannot be considered legitimate. So what is the pleasure of the sponsor?
May I request for a 1-minute suspension?
Yes,
Mr.
1
Speaker.
minute suspension, please. Session resumes. Majority Floor Leader.
Recognize, recognize yung si Mami.
Meron
Mr.
po kami
Speaker.
panukala, Mr. Speaker.
I move to recognize the Honorable Tienza.
Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Atienza, you may proceed.
we had issued a statement and a suggestion. Let's hold on to the further deliberation of this act, and let's take advantage of the time. Let's go around Metro Manila. I will join you, and I'll point out everything that I've said here as existing reality. At yun ang problema, yun ang bigyan natin ng solusyon. If at all, we must include all those data in this piece of legislation.
Honorable Sponsor, what is the pleasure of the Honorable Sponsor as far as the suggestion of Honorable Atienza is concerned?
No objection on the part of this representation.
Yeah. So there is a motion to defer? Can you put that into motion,
Yes,
Honorable Atienza?
provided that we take advantage of the break in the deliberations for us to go around. And he can point out to me what he sees, and I will point out to him what I see in the streets. and
Honorable
avenues.
Atienza, we have actually an oversight function as far as the committee is concerned.
Exactly.
Are you suggesting that we are going to call for an oversight function of the committee?
Mr. Speaker, we may not have to resort to that. If the gentleman agrees to anyway we are deferring action, further action, I am again reiterating my proposal. We double check on his data.
Can you put that into motion, Honorable Atienza? Because the Honorable Sponsor has no objection. Can you put that into motion?
By all means, Mr. Speaker.
Can you
Therefore,
repeat the motion?
We move that we defer action on this particular measure, and the sponsor and anyone he would want to invite, including the MMDA and the local government units, for us to go around, where we, the ordinary citizens, can point out the real problems existing. Yung mga enforcer, minamaniobra yung traffic light, yung mga local government units hindi tinatapos sa mga proyekto, ang mga kalye ay iba-ibang gamit, hindi po para sa traffic, at maipakita natin, maidagdag natin dito sa ating pagsusuri itong panukalang ito. Because before we open up even the subdivision roads,
Can you wind up your motion? It's a lengthy motion, you know. I
Yeah.
might not be able to remember.
before we even take up opening subdivision roads, we should be convinced that that is the only way to improve the conditions.
Well,
I move.
as regards the suggestion of the gentleman from buhay to go around and see for ourselves the actual situation. I have no objection to that. But as to deferring the action on this, I think I have to confer with the leadership
Majority
regarding this
Floor
particular
Leader.
measure.
Mr. Speaker, on the basis of these suggestions, I move to suspend the consideration of House Bill number 6425.
There is a motion to suspend House Bill 6425. Any objection? There being none, the motion is approved.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I believe now that we are all agreed. This is an ill-prepared, wrong diagnosed solutions to a different problem. The problem is one of
Thank
corruption.
you, Honorable Atienza. There has already been a motion and it has been carried. So, Majority Floor Leader, what is the next in the agenda?
Mr. Speaker, we are in receipt of the Bicameral Conference Committee report on the disagreeing provisions of House Bill number 4113 and Senate Bill number 1305, increasing the maternity leave period to 100 days for female workers in the government service and in the private sector. Mr. Speaker, in accordance with our rules, I move that we ratify the said Bicameral Conference Committee report.
There is a motion to ratify the bicameral committee report of House Bill number 4113 and the Senate Bill number 1305, increasing the maternity leave period to 100 days for female workers in the government service and in the private sector. Is there any objection? The chair hearing none, the motion is approved. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we designate the following members to the Bicameral Conference Committee on the disagreeing provisions of House Bill number 7735 and Senate Bill number 1998 on replacing the quantitative import restrictions on rice with tariffs. Namely, Representative Jose Panganiban Jr., Representative Arthur Yap, Representative Sharon Garin, Representative Peter Unabia, Representative Micaela Biolago, Representative Victor Yap, Representative Edsel Lagman, Representative Michael Odilon Romero, and Representative Orestes Salon.
There is a motion that we designate the following members to the Bicameral Conference Committee on the disagreeing provisions of the House Bill number 7735 and the Senate Bill number 1998 on replacing the quantitative import restrictions on rice with tariff. Namely, Representatives Jose Panganiban Jr., Deputy Speaker Arthur Yap, Deputy Speaker Sharon Garen, Representative Peter Onabia, Representative Micaela Biolago, Representative Victor Yap, Representative Edsel Lagman, Representative Michael Odilon Romero, Representative Orestes Salon. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the change of referral of the following measures. House Joint Resolution number 30, extending the validity of appropriations under the fiscal year 2018 National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Fund and the Republic Act number 10964 or the fiscal year 2018 General Appropriations Act until December 31, 2019 from the Committee on Appropriations to the Committee on Rules. Senate Bill number 1898 amending sections 66 and 67 of RA number 6975, otherwise known as the Department of Interior and Local Government Act of 1990, from the Committee on Local Government to the Committee on Public Order and Safety. Senate Bill number 1306, creating the Philippine Boxing Commission, from the Committee on Youth and Sports Development to the Committee on Games and Amusements.
Can we do the motion one by one? So, number one, there is a motion for the House Joint Resolution number 30, extending the validity of the appropriations under FY 2018 National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Fund under Republic Act number 10964 or the FY 2018 General Appropriations Act until December 31, 2019. From the Committee on Appropriations to the Committee on Rules. Is there any objection? The chair hearings none. The motion is carried. The second motion is Senate Bill number 1898, amending Section 66 and 67 of the Republic Act number 6975, otherwise known as the Department of Interior and Local Government Act of 1990. From the Committee on Local Government to the Committee on Public Order and Safety. Is there any objection? There being none, the motion is carried. The third motion is Senate Bill number 1306, creating the Philippine Boxing Commission, from the Committee on Youth and Sports Development to the Committee on Games and Amusement. Is there any objection? The chair hearing none, the motion is approved. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, as requested by its author, Representative Salvador Belaro, I move that we recommit House Resolution number 1645 under Committee Report number 595 to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
There is a motion that we recommit House Resolution number 1645 under Committee Report number 595 to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education. Is there any objection? The chair, hearing none, the motion is approved. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the guests of the Honorable Doisy Liachon, who are present in the plenary today, Mrs. Margarita Melian Ortigas and Mr. Hans Guenter Schoof, accompanied by his son Frederick Christian Schoof.
Will the guest of Congressman Liachon please stand up to be recognized? Thank you. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the House of Representatives is in receipt of a communication from the President of ABS Party List, Ms. Catalina Leonen Pizarro, informing the House that the party list approved a board resolution expelling Attorney Eugene Michael De Vera as a member of the ABS party list, removing him as representative of the party list in the House of Representatives, and naming its second nominee, Mr. Ulysses G. Garces, as its representative to replace Attorney De Vera.
Point of order.
Said letter was referred by the Majority Leader, representing
The majority has the floor.
Leader Representative Orlando G. Anday Jr. to the COMELEC. We are also in receipt of a resolution of the COMELEC and Bank number 18-0842, directing its law department to reply to Ms. Catalina Leonen Pizarro and to Representative Orlando G. Anday Jr., Majority Leader of the House of Representatives, in the matter of the expulsion of Representative Eugene Michael De Vera from ABS party list. The resolution states pertinently that Representative De Vera, being a member of the House of Representatives, is within the jurisdiction and covered by its rules and regulations. In compliance with directive the COMELEC and Bank, the COMELEC Law Department, through Director Maria Nuria S. Tangaro Kasingal, informed the Honorable Speaker to Representative Orlando G. Anday Jr., Majority Leader of the House of Representatives, that the Commission on Elections and Bank proclaimed ABS party list as the winner in the May 19, 2016 elections to entitle its first nominee to sit as representative in the House of Representatives. Attached to the letter are the certificate of proclamation and certificates of nomination and acceptance of the nominees of ABS party list. In view of the foregoing, Mr. Speaker, may I request the Secretary General be instructed to drop from the rolls of members of the House of Representatives Eugene Michael B. De Vera and allow the nominee next in line of the ABS party list, the Honorable Ulysses G. Garces, to take his oath as member of the House of Representatives of the ABS party list, pursuant to the certificates of nomination acceptance of the ABS party list organization and forwarded by the Law Department of the Commission on Appointments.
Point of order.
Submitted, Mr. Speaker.
What is the point of order
Mr. Speaker.
of the gentleman?
Yeah, Mr. Speaker. This representation is citing the Constitution under Article number 6, Section 17. The Senate and the House of Representatives shall each have an electoral tribunal, which shall be the sole judge of all contests relating to the election, returns, and qualifications of their respective members. Mr. Speaker, I just want to know the status of the parliamentary status of the case of Representative De Vera, because I believe that they already hearing it in HRET, and I want to know if HRET has a decision already. That is why are we tackling it now because of that decision, or is that because we are not going to wait for the decision of the HRET, because it will violate our Constitution, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker,
Majority Floor Leader,
the
you're
majority
recognized.
the majority leader is in no way part of the case in the HRET. As it is right now, we have this letter from the COMELEC for us to proceed with the dropping of the name of Representative Eugene De Vera from the list of roles.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes,
Mr.
proceed.
Speaker, my manifestation is not a motion which would be voted upon. It is a request that the name of Representative De Vera be dropped from the rolls.
Mr. Speaker.
Secretary General, you are requested to drop the name.
Point of order,
from
Mr.
the rolls.
Speaker.
What is the point of order of the gentleman from Cagayan Valley?
I'm recognized, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, you're recognized.
Thank you.
What is the point of order?
Yes, Rule 2, Section 4 on composition, Mr. Speaker. May I proceed, Mr.
Please
Speaker?
proceed.
It is stated that membership of the House shall be composed of elective representatives of legislative districts and those elected through the party list system. Membership as representative of a legislative district commences upon proclamation as a winning candidate, the administration of an oath of the office by a duly authorized public officer, and assumption of office on June 30 following the election. In cases where a candidate has been proclaimed winner by the Commission on Elections and the validity of the proclamation is put in question in any judicial or administrative body, such candidate who has been proclaimed winner and assumed office on June 30 following the election shall remain a member of the House absent a final and executory judgment on or resolution of the question over the proclamation of the member by the appropriate judicial or administrative bodies, Your Honor. Mr. Speaker, I have a pending case now with the House of Representatives Electoral Tribunal, case number 16-31, Your Honor, filed against me by Catalina Pizarro, Your Honor, and still pending with the HRET. And I already submitted my answer, Your Honor. Your Honor, on October 2, 2018, I even wrote the leadership, including that of the Majority Leader Andaya, and I have already told them that Section 17 of the 1987 Constitution provides the Senate and the House of Representatives shall have an electoral tribunal which shall be the sole judge of all contests relating to the election, returns, and qualifications for their respective members. Your Honor, I am a sitting member of this august chamber. And what is being questioned against me is my qualification of being a bona fide member of my party list ABS, Your Honor. So the jurisdiction, Your Honor, as far as this is concerned, is within the province of the House of Representatives Electoral Tribunal, Your Honor. A mere letter, Your Honor, cannot be the basis for unseating me in this august chamber, Your Honor. Let us wait for the results of the hearings being conducted now before the House of Representatives Electoral Tribunal. In fact, Your Honor, give me some time, Your Honor, in order that to discuss and to present my case before you. Section 9 of Republic Act 7941, or the Party List System Act, on qualification of party list nominees states, and I quote, "No person shall be nominated as party list representative unless he is a natural-born citizen of the Philippines, a registered voter, a resident of the Philippines for a period of not less than 1 year immediately preceding the day of election, able to read and write, and bona fide member of the party organization which he seeks to represent at least 90 days preceding the day of election, and at least 25 years of age on the day of election. So being a bona fide member of a party list organization is one of the qualifications, Your Honor. So if there is an issue on the bona fide qualification of a certain party list representative sitting in this Congress, Your Honor, the venue to question is within the province of the House of Representatives Electoral Tribunal. And as of this date, Your Honor, I already have filed my answer to the petition, the co-warrant to petition filed against me by Baby Pizarro.
Majority Floor Leader,
Again, Mr.
please respond.
Yes, I reiterate our motion that we are in receipt of a letter from the ABS party list dropping as a nominee of the ABS party list, the Honorable De Vera. This is not my personal liking, but that is the situation we have, and we have to request that his name be dropped from the rolls.
I really object.
It is a ministerial duty, Mr. Speaker.
There is a request from the Majority Floor Leader to drop Congressman De Vera from the roll.
Point of order, Mr.
Secretary
Speaker.
General is
Point of order,
directed
Mr.
to follow
Speaker.
the request
Section
of the
75 and 76,
Majority
absence of the
Floor
quorum.
Leader.
Thank you
Mr.
very much,
Speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr.
Question,
Session
I'm questioning
suspended.
the quorum, Mr. Speaker.
Session suspended. Session resume. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I move to adjourn the session until tomorrow, November 20 at 3 o'clock p.m.
There is a motion to adjourn. Do I hear any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.